Andrea as we were standing, waiting to come on there. I'm like, every time I see the end credits, I can't believe it. I've really actually made the film, and I don't have to keep trying to make the film. And it's an amazing feeling, because I have truly imagined getting to this moment now where I would be talking to people about the film, and I would visualize that in my mind. And here I am. Honestly, I really am so grateful to everyone for being here, and just thank you so much, really.
This is your first feature producing credit. Hell of a way to start. But what was it about Lee Miller and her story that you were so committed to getting on the screen? Because, as you say, it took you many years. You got here, but it wasn't easy.
I mean, it's independent filmmaking, and Andrew and I both grew up very much in that world. In spite of Titanic, The Holiday, the majority of the work that I've done has been in that independent world, and it's hard to make films about women, and it's hard to make films as a woman. But when I first knew about Lee back in 2001, I'd been to an exhibition of her work in Edinburgh, and so I was aware of her photographic work, but I didn't know anything about her life. And in 2015, I bought a table. Andrew has heard me tell this story so many times. But some friends of mine called me, and they run an auction house in the UK, and they said, Kate, there's this incredible table that's come in. I've never bid on anything in my life, by the way. That's not my vibe. But I said, well, tell me about this table. They were so excited about it. And they said, it's just the history. It's incredible. It was a kitchen table owned by the Penrose family, Rowland's family, and it was in a holiday home that they all shared. And when Lee and Rowland were lovers in the early days, they would spend wonderful sort of hedonistic summers of love in this home. And Lee was an incredible cook, and she would prepare food at this table, and they would eat these wonderful meals, and they would talk and discuss and share and fight and feast and fuck on the table, quite honestly. And so I bought this table, and it arrived in my home, and I sat down at it, and I thought, how has anyone never made a film about Lee Miller, this extraordinary woman? And the second I Googled her, which was the first thing I did to start the beginning of my very deep dive, I couldn't believe how she was described. Former muse, ex-lover of Man Ray, ex-cover girl, former model. And I just thought, okay, why is this woman being defined in this strange way with these labels that have been put on her, these infantilizing words that we use to describe her? And that word muse, it's so reductive. And of course I knew she was so much more. And I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if I could make a film about her and maybe introduce her to people for the first time in this way, for who she really was, this decade of her life when Lee became Lee, having done this extraordinary thing, fighting her way to the front in the way that she did, and capturing what was happening in the cracks and in the shadows to those voiceless victims, and making sure that those stories were never, ever forgotten, and not only never forgotten, but honoured and remembered and told to all of us. That early reportage work, that were it not for Lee, we would maybe not have these kinds of images and this kind of work that photojournalists do, especially the women who compromise and leave families behind. And she never looked away. She could have just gone home, but she didn't. And it was that streak of injustice in her because of what had happened to her as a child that I thought, my God, I have to honour that story, how she wouldn't be defined by that thing that had happened. She refused to be defined by men, but she lived that life at full throttle, paying that emotional price. And I just thought, I've got to make a film about this woman. And that was the beginning.